First and foremost, apologies in advance for the vest. I've been doing a bit of training down at the gym and came back and wanted to record this video straight away because obviously, given the subject we're discussing, this video is only going to be relevant for 10, 11, 12 hours at most. So, didn't want to waste time putting on a nice shirt for you all. Wanted to get thoughts straight down. I wanted to discuss the Quillin and Andy Lee weigh-in. Now, I already did a video on that yesterday, so check that out with a few initial thoughts. But I've been in a few discussions today, and a lot of people are giving viewpoints about how this weight is going to affect the fight that I completely disagree with. A lot of people are telling me Quillin's tight at the weight. Quillin looked like he was carrying an extra few pounds. Quillin's not in shape. Quillin might be vulnerable to Andy Lee's body shot. And I think there's certainly an element of truth in that. You know, there is an element of truth in the fact that if Quillin's really had to drain himself to get down to this level, if he's not made the weight very well, in fact, if he's missed the weight not very well, he's going to be vulnerable to a big puncher like Andy Lee. He's perhaps not going to have the punch resistance that he's going to need to have against a guy like Andy Lee. And yeah, that is a rational argument. I get that. But there's a lot of ifs, buts and maybes in that debate. We may find out for real tonight, and people making those arguments may be right. But I think nobody is discussing the really obvious fact that was clear from yesterday's weigh-in. People are so obsessed with Quillin missing weight, Quillin being half a pound over, Quillin having to drain himself. They've neglected to discuss the size difference visible at yesterday's weigh-in. Now, I don't want to make out like I'm becoming obsessed with this, but Andy Lee is a guy who was comfortably making light middleweight. It is clear in my eyes he was not intending to campaign at middleweight, but under Adam Booth he was looking to campaign at light middleweight. By a fluke set of circumstances which allowed him to fight for a vacant title that nobody could have foresaw, Andy Lee found himself a middleweight champion. But in my opinion, Andy Lee isn't a genuine middleweight. Certainly not. And in my opinion, Peter Quillin is bordering on being a super middleweight. If you look at Quillin next to Andy Lee, Golovkin, Cotto, the other champions in the division, I would say Quillin looks a weight class bigger than Gennady Golovkin, and possibly looks 2 weight classes bigger than Andy Lee and Miguel Cotto. I think the size difference is really relevant to this fight, especially when we're talking about 2 guys who are big punchers. The reason being is Quillin, who's a big puncher, is going to be hitting a man who's much smaller than him, and Andy Lee, who's a big puncher, may have that sort of game-changing power slightly taken away from him because he's fighting such a bigger man. He may not be as effective in the power punching stakes as he's been against John Jackson, a light middleweight, for example. For me, the size difference between these two was really noticeable. Peter Quillin stepped on the scales, and he had a sort of, don't get me wrong, he didn't have a boxing physique in a sort of lean sense. It didn't look like he was in the most rippled of shapes that you see. Certainly he didn't look in as cut up as like a Chris Eubank Jr., for example. But Peter Quillin had a physique that many people would think of as aspirational. Big back, big arms, big chest, just sort of powerful looking guy. Whereas Andy Lee, and I know Andy Lee's a tall guy, he's obviously going to be stretched out at the weight, but Andy Lee had a physique similar to a spider. If you look when they face off, if you just look at the thickness of their arms, the thickness of their chest, the thickness of their back, I think there's scope for it to be man against boy in there tonight. And I think Andy Lee's game-changing power we've seen against John Jackson, a light middleweight, and we've seen against Matt Korobov, who's really untested. I think because of the drama and the interest that's come alongside Peter Quillin missing weight, nobody really discussed the size difference after the weigh-in yesterday. But for me, that was the thing that I took from it as the most relevant of all. Let me know your thoughts. Many thanks for watching.